This is Louis Zumbaugh with Rush Hour Ag. Leave your message after the tone.
Hey Louis, it's Elliott Henderson. Can't wait to tell you about
rolling down the back road, truth riding with the dust, talking agriculture policy with people you can trust. From the field to the Capitol, we're breaking it down. Real talk, real issues from a real farm town. Every hour's rush hour when the work won't wait, so we're cutting through the noise and setting things straight.
What's your rush today, Elliott?
Welcome back to another episode of Rush Hour Ag. I'm your host, Elliott Henderson, and today with me is...
Tanner Winterhoff. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I don't know, man. I'm in a different seat. I don't know if I'm real comfortable here.
That's true. And I'm not in a different seat, but I don't know if I can bring the same vibrato that Louis brings.
I don't know. It's going to be tough. I have some big boots to fill there.
It is. I'm going to have to start bringing in some Louisisms into the conversation today, but I'm excited because you set up a really great interview, something that should be really neat to explore.
It's going to be a good one. And we got none other than the aligner of stars, Craig Rupp, with us here today from Sabanto.
Well, thank you, Elliott, for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and how do you usually start these? Is there's no rush, or what's my rush?
Yeah, what's the rush today? Yeah.
We got to try and squeeze a lot in with a little bit of time.
Yeah, we do. I feel like I was in a rush, though, because I mean, we got like an extra semi-load and a half of sod ordered, and I just rushed right down here after we got that cut, so I didn't get cleaned up at all.
That's what makes it really real. But I'll let you kind of take over.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so Craig Rupp, man, this is awesome. We had one of your guys' machines out to the farm here a couple weeks ago,
Yes,
and I'm just fascinated about it. But we got to back up. We got to find out who you are, Craig, and want to hear a little bit about your background.
Okay. Raised in Northwest Iowa, right outside Cherokee. On a farm, corn, soybeans, hogs, cattle. I was the spare, not the heir, and became an electrical engineer. I always tell people my mom taught me how to use a spoon. My dad taught me how to use a shovel. And went to Iowa State, became an electrical engineer, and then I went to Chicago and worked at Motorola. And I spent about 25 years of my career in the wireless industry. And I did do a stint at John Deere, the Starfire receiver. It was a wireless. I worked on that and also the Green Star display. And then that kind of pulled me back into agriculture. But I've worked, you name the cell phone, LG, Samsung, BlackBerry, Apple, Ericsson. I've either worked for them or with them.
Well, the satellite thing, we talked a little bit about satellites too. So like Motorola, they were putting satellites in space.
Yeah, they were. I worked on Iridium.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like Iridium sat phones?
The sat phone. My proudest moment was when I went to, was it Jurassic Park 3? Mm-hmm. Remember when the dinosaur, the dinosaur dung? Yeah, there was
Yeah, I remember that.
That was my phone. So
Did it still work after that?
no, but I was just laughing, watching. I'm like, oh my God, they're using Iridium to communicate on that movie. I was just laughing there with my kids on that. It was the 9500 phone that I worked on.
I can't remember what model I'd had in like the late 2000s, but
Oh, sure, it was a 9500.
okay, I've had a few Iridium
Big.
sat phones.
Yeah, big home. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't crazy big.
What are you doing with an Iridium phone?
In Afghanistan.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they sold it to the military, and the military started using it as a communications link. Yeah.
Yeah, they work.
Yeah.
So phones to GPS guidance.
Yeah.
640 Labs was another.
Yeah. There was a startup, myself and a friend of mine, Corvette Cool from Chicago. He and I, every year we would go snowmobiling up in the Upper Peninsula. Well, all right, how that company started. So let's go way back. So I was,
for the listeners, 640 Labs would be like the startup of Fieldview Drive.
It was, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. So it all started, so I left Deere and I'd worked on the Starfire receiver and Green Star display. And I was working at Apple on their iPad. And the iPad is a phone.
Apple iPad, really?
Yeah. So the iPad is a cell phone.
Sure.
right? Yeah, sure it is. You know, people think, oh, no, it's a cell phone. There's a cellular receiver in it. And I was working on that and going, by God, this is what the Green Star display should have been. And so meanwhile, a friend of mine, Corbett, and I, we started a couple companies together. In particular, one was down in Oklahoma. We were delivering data services to oil rigs all throughout the Panhandle and whatnot. That's another story. But then we were sitting there or up in the Upper Peninsula on a snowmobile trip. Well, what should we do next? And it took me 2 years. I'm like, we need to do something in agriculture. He's like, what? No. And I'm like, yeah. And, and I was telling him about the Green Star display, and I was working on the iPad.
So Green Star display was before iPad for you.
Yeah.
Had to been, right?
Yeah.
If you look back, sure.
Yeah, and I was looking at this iPad. It had all the memory in the world, incredible graphics, power supply, all the accessories. I mean, you could watch a movie or read email while you're, on this iPad. You can't do that on a Green Star. Mm-hmm. So I carried that around with me for 2 years going, God, someone's going to do this. Someone's going to take an iPad. And then it just so happened I was out at my brother's, and he had bought a brand new 8R, or not new to him. He bought an 8R, and I saw that little, that port, that ISO 11783 port. And then I thought, I know it's on that. There's 2 CAN buses, and I know all the agronomic and machine data.
All the data.
Yeah, and then now I got to get it into an iPad. And then, I thought, well, I didn't want to use Wi-Fi because I was worried about narrowband interference. Have you ever seen guys where they turn their CD on and all of a sudden their GPS goes out?
Turn your CB radio on?
Or 2A or something.
Yeah,
Sure.
Up your 2A radio. Yeah, your 2A radio,
Yeah.
right? All right, so I'm going off on all these threads. When I was at Deere, this is a big problem. Guys were like, I key on my, I talk on my 2A radio. And,
UHF or VHF.
Yeah, we lose GPS. And so it was my job to find out what the hell was going on. And so I asked someone, well, send me, I asked the farmer, can you send me the radio? I just want to check. And then I had found out that it's called harmonic emissions. And if you, like, GPS is at it's near 1226 megahertz.
Yep.
And if you're transmitting at 122.6 megahertz,
yep,
what happens? The 10th harmonic right in band and takes GPS out. You can't receive the signal. And it turns out it was god awful. These radios that they're using, they're basically nonlinear amplifiers.
So like that signal that was coming from, out from space was
it's at 1226.
1226, okay.
And you're transmitting at 122.6.
Yeah, 152.975, I think was what mine was.
Yeah, and if you multiply by 10, and it landed right in the GPS band. And so there's nothing you can do about it. And the problem is the signal, they're like, well, can we filter it? What can we do to get this farmer running? And then I'm like, the only thing you can do is you can pay and get his license to use a different frequency. Take it to 121 megahertz or something, where get it away such that a harmonic doesn't land. And that's what Deere was doing with farmers.
And so it was only a few within that range throughout the country that would land in that, and they still run kind of that same frequency today, maybe?
Well, yeah, they just moved their frequency.
Okay.
Get away. But anyway, so I remembered that, and I'm like, Wi-Fi. So I'm getting into the weeds with wireless, but Wi-Fi is a broadband. It is a codomain multiple access type communication system. It occupies a very wide bandwidth, whereas Bluetooth is a narrow bandwidth, but it's jumping around.
Okay.
So it's less prone to interference. And I was like, it's good. That's why it was my decision. That's why the field wheel drive uses Bluetooth.
Well, how come they never made the iPad run GPS?
There is a GPS receiver under now.
But to like run an auto steer system.
That's a really good question. Well, okay. One of the reasons at the time was in order to get, inch accuracy, you need both L1 and L2.
Okay.
And you need a dual receiver. And, they're trying to make the iPad, the cogs as low as possible. They don't do that. But I'm surprised that in this day and age that your cell phone and your iPad don't have dual receivers like that.
So we got
Got a lot of experience to get us where we're going now.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
With tractors.
Yeah, and so what I did was for 640 Labs, we built up, I built it up in a hotel in Austin. I was staying there, and that was the first one I built up, and it was just off the shelf parts, right? It was canned to Bluetooth, and then eventually it just we iterated on it, and we started 640 Labs, and the ideal was. Our vision was we were gonna knock off the John Deere 2630 on an iPad. That was our goal.
That's an interesting mission.
Might have been nice.
Was that?
That would have been nice.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it would have. Yeah, we were. It was going to be a complete. You had no idea it was.
Might have disrupted all these fees that everybody's paying today.
Absolutely, I wanted to. Yeah, it's still a good idea. Someone should go out and do that.
Somebody, if you're listening, should go out and do that.
But you've done all that,
Yeah.
and then to get to where we are today with a complete autonomous tractor, what was the revelation that happened to get to where you are today?
It started off when I was working for the Climate Corporation. So we got acquired by Monsanto, and they threw us underneath the Climate Corporation. So I would spend a lot of time with farmers. It was a blast. A lot of good friends of mine, but I would always ask them, what keeps you up at night? It's labor. A lot of them were saying labor and whatnot. And it seemed obvious to me that autonomy is the answer to that. And, when Bayer bought Monsanto, believe it or not, I left Monsanto and I thought maybe it's time for me to go out to pasture. What better way to go out to pasture is to be a professor. So I have my PhD about half done, and I decided I'm going to go finish my PhD as I don't know, at the time I was 50, 55. I'm going to go back and get my PhD and become a professor. And I went back to Iowa State, and I was a full-time student. And while I was there, academia really, I don't know what to say about that.
The old saying is, those who can do, right?
I have a friend whose wife is a professor, and he works in the industry, but he said academia is like welfare for the educated.
Well, I'm glad that you did not decide to go the route of teaching and continue to go the route of doing. And this technology that you brought to the industry, I think, is revolutionary to where this can change the world.
Oh, absolutely. And then I thought about autonomy in agriculture. I thought, if anyone can pull it off, I'm going to try, right? Mm-hmm. So what I did was I went and leased JCB 4220, and I went and bought a planter, brand spanking new, 18 row, 20-inch planter.
And is this on like the farm here in Iowa, or where was this at?
What do you mean?
Where you were doing this, where you were going to use this tractor planter?
Yeah, obviously you have these grandiose plans from the get-go. I thought, I'm going to start in February in Texas. I'm going to work my way up to Canada,
That's the reason for the JCB, the high road speed.
Yeah. No, actually, we chose JCB because it was 102 inches wide.
Oh.
I had the wherewithal I don't want to go out with a tractor that I didn't want to go out and with a wide load. Mm-hmm. And the JCB was less than 102 inches wide, and but it was, that thing could cook.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, about 45 mile an hour. Yeah, it was fast track. That was the name.
Sure.
Of it. But then I ended up planting in Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, Illinois and Indiana.
So you put together some trials and
Yeah, I had farmers.
or you just pulled into random people's fields and started planting?
No, I actually I knew some people at, you know, I came from Monsanto, but I knew some people at Sabanto, and asked them, hey, can you give me a list of farmers that would be interested? And you know, about a week later, yep, here's 50 of them. Then.
So this unit, you started fabricating on it and trying to put some cameras and the autonomy on this JCB machine?
Yeah, and it was half baked. it would, you know what? Let's just say that I could get out of it, and it would perform a pass, and then it could be trusted.
So a year later, you're making some head roads and building a head of steam, or like what was the progress of that to get it to where it is today?
Because what year was the JCB?
That was 2019.
So we're talking all this in less than 6 years.
Yeah. And what happened, right, so I made enough, noise that I got funded. So 2019, by the way, was a very wet spring. And, some things happen for a reason, for a good reason. And while they're all rained out, right? I would jump on a plane and head out to California, try to pitch this, right? I didn't know where it was going. I'm like, what the hell, I've seen people invest in worse. So, but I got funding, and I'm like, oh my God, this thing's real now. And so I went back to Chicago, and I hired 5 people that I knew could help me pull this off. And when they came in, there's a lot of constraints for a startup. First and foremost, I have a CDL. I'm probably the only CEO that still have it. I got it because someone's got to drive the truck, and I looked around to try to find someone to drive the truck. I'm like, well, what is this guy gonna do? And it was tough for me to find a driver. And so I said, oh, the hell, then I'll just go
in there anyway, right?
Yeah, there's some shady place down in Ankeny called 24 Hour CDL.
Yep.
It took me 48, but
Hey, you got it.
yeah, I got it, man. And I keep it every year. I go. I get every 2 years. I get the
Physical.
physical.
Yep.
So we were lucky enough to have Unit Viper out at our farm. So to the listener, what is Sabanto?
So what we do is we create a retrofit kit that attaches to tractors.
Any tractor?
We can put it on any tractor. It takes about 90 days to, if you come with a new model, we will. We primarily focus on smaller horsepower tractors. Let's just say sub 200 horsepower, because we believe that autonomy is going to replace horsepower. If I can expand on that, if you look at I went to John Deere's website and looked at a 9RX 830, fully loaded, or, with generously loaded, it's about 1.3 million. And then if you go down to, say, 100 horsepower, 5100E, I mean, it's
Sub 100.
Yeah, and you can buy over 1,800 horsepower tractors for what you're paying for.
So to me, this horsepower thing and the monster it has become is really a factor of labor.
It is. If you
It's
look
skilled labor. We got to have operators that can operate that equipment, and the fewer there are of them, the bigger the horsepower needs to be to cover the acres.
Absolutely, and that's where we have, for the past, since the dawn of tractors, it's just slowly gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're at a stage now where the only limiting factor right now is the DOT.
Okay. Moving them down the road.
Moving us down the road, yeah.
Sure.
And you know what? I was on this is interesting too. Is I was on the road the other day and I saw an X9 combine on I-80, and you know what was missing
On a trailer?
on a trailer?
Yeah.
You know what's missing on the trailer?
On the trailer or in the convoy?
On the trailer,
Okay, I don't know. I guess what would be missing on the trailer?
the tracks or wheels.
Because of the weight or the width, probably.
There's no rule. So,
I thought you were gonna say the pilot car was missing, but yeah, I'm following you.
but now, there used to be a day when a truck would show up and drop off your combine and you just drove it off. And now there's two trucks.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, I see the future of this, the scalability of it. You don't go from, having to have a machine big enough to cover acres and trying to accumulate more acres. You go from sizing the equipment to cover the acres you got. And then when the opportunity comes to scale your operation, you scale with equipment instead of with labor. And
That's exactly. So a true story. This spring, I got an email from a farmer in Montana. And his problem was I just bought another 1,000 acres. He was a 10,000 acre farmer. He just bought another 1,000 acres. And I needed new equipment. And then he went out and priced it, and it was a Steiger 720 and a Burgo, a 60-foot seeder, $2 million plus.
And it only runs as long as somebody's sitting in the seat.
Yeah. And now he's got to get a new guy to run it. And he's like, I just need 1,000 acres out of it. And so we started looking at, well, what if I go smaller? And he and I spent about a month. Every Friday morning, we would meet for about an hour, turned into 2 hours. But we were looking at, he wants to plant his, across the entire year, 20 days to plant 10,000 acres. And he knew enough he was putting together a spreadsheet, everywhere from 30 horsepower to 350. And he was trying to find the sweet spot. He knew how many horsepower per shank he required, then how wide the implement would be, how fast it would go, how much weight could it carry. And he was very methodical in sizing the equipment, and it turned out 100 to 120 horsepower. And he could buy 3 of them, and he could save $1.7 million by going with smaller equipment.
That's some serious milk money there. Yeah. Like you take that home.
Yeah.
Buy more land.
That's exactly and he's like, it's funny. It's like, I'm not a farmer. I'm a real estate collector.
Yeah.
It's like I'm buying land.
It's like the McDonald's
Oh, yeah.
flyer was built like that, right?
I kind of cut you off when I asked any tractor. Keep explaining what your retrofit kit does.
Okay. Thank you. So in the kit itself contains a GNSS receiver. It's actually a dual GNSS receiver. So any given time, we know what our heading is. I make the software guys' life easier. There is a hydraulic kit to steer the tractor. There is cellular modems, and we also now support Starlink, which is awesome, by the way, and that's going to change the world, by the way. There are actuators, because a lot of times, we're focused on smaller, almost compact tractors, working them longer hours. So there's some actuators, brake actuators, and there's some times where a 3-point hitch is not electric, it's manual. So we create this kit and a controller, by the way, and it gets installed on the tractor, and it turns it from a manually operated tractor to an autonomous tractor. And with the flipping of a switch, you can switch from manual to autonomous.
So I can go back to driving it.
Absolutely. We think, when I started the companies, there were some rules. Number one, I don't see autonomy as an all or nothing proposition. I see some companies out there making custom machines, no seats, no steering wheels. And I look at autonomy like cruise control. It's an accessory on top of a off-the-shelf tractor. It's like cruise control. Nobody uses cruise control to back out of the garage. And there are times when I just want to get on the damn thing and run it.
Yeah, to get full value out of the tractor, you're going to still need to be able to switch implements, and autonomy absolutely likely will be a long way off. Obviously, changing hitch pins and hooking up hydraulic hoses.
And the other one was I see autonomy replacing horsepower. I think autonomy is going to take horsepower on the other direction. And it all comes down to, if you can stay with me, but horsepower equals work divided by time. So horsepower and time are inversely proportional. If I can deploy 2 systems, I double the amount of time that I can dedicate to a certain amount of work, and then horsepower will go down by a factor of 2. Mm-hmm. It all comes down. If you have a 500 horsepower tractor, you can do the same amount of work with 250 horsepower tractors.
Couldn't you also make the argument that it's a factor of 3 with 3 8-hour days? 3 8-hour work periods in a day?
It is. Yes, you can. Longer hours.
I get it. Most farmers work more than 8 hours, but
yeah,
I mean,
no, but we're running through the night as well. Yep. Some farmers they kick them off at 9 at night, and they run throughout the night. Scary.
Oh, I'm with you. I think that this is the direction things are going to go. I really do.
So as a policy show, though, this is channeling to Louis here.
Yeah, for sure.
You made the comment that you thought autonomy was the answer to the labor issue. That's kind of what helped you get started.
Yeah.
In this, you don't think the solution would have been incentives to train the labor force? You don't think the answer was higher minimum wage to make more people want to do this type of a job? We don't think they're.
I think
So the one thing that I've been harping on lately is, there's a very, if you open any magazine or listen to any podcast or whatever, they talk about autonomy and labor, and they always go hand in hand. And I'll tell you what I'm finding in the market is, we've got 150 plus systems deployed. We're not replacing labor.
I look at my own operation. We had your machine there. We still needed our labor. They just got the stuff done that wasn't getting done before. Exactly. That needed to be done.
So what people are doing is they're using autonomy for a couple of things. So I'm seeing a whole host of reasons, and it's not necessarily labor's not number one. It's way far down the list. They're using it to scale. I want to take on more acres with the people I have. They're using it for quality of life, right? Or to, like in your case, Elliott, use the people that I have. I'm going to have them focus on work or quality of life. I don't have, when I get behind, I don't have to have my workers working 12-hour days, mm-hmm. or I don't have to have them come in over the weekend.
Something that helped us when you were there is that I got a little more value out of some of my office staff. So I could take a task that normally that person couldn't have done, who had potentially some spare more time than the other guys do that are busy with their hands all day. And she could take on a duty that she never would have been able to take on, potentially. I mean, she can do it, but this is a case I think that works elsewhere too.
I have a 52-year-old grandmother who sits up in Ames, Iowa every day. And what she does is she monitors 23 tractors across the U.S. Yes. Georgia, Florida, Texas, Indiana, and she does that. So
that was something I was thinking about before this, is like, to the average listener who's never seen an autonomous tractor, just maybe saw some stuff on a clip or something on social media, this is real and it's happening today. I mean, how many units are running around right now live? You had a lady looking at how many of them?
She's monitoring 23 of them.
So how many of these have been produced and are out there just through you guys?
It's over 150.
And then, like, how many countries are they in?
Canada, and about a week we're going to be in Australia.
Do you have any competitors that are doing the same thing or similar?
You could say John Deere's doing something similar.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They're 8-hour and 9-hour.
Oh, sure.
No, I'm convinced that, it's going to be sub 200 horsepower.
Mm-hmm. That was something that tracked into my mind.
We're doing broad acre. I mean, we're doing, we're corn and soybean guys. And, if you're, seeding, drilling soybeans, planting cover crops, and seeding wheat, call us.
We had your unit on it, yeah. A fertilizer spreader even.
Absolutely.
The possibilities are endless.
And people do that, yeah.
I just was wondering when you mentioned that there's been prototypes that have been made without seats, right? It becomes a single use. That triggered the Tractor Wars story in my mind. Got to read that book by Neil Dahlstrom, and how the first tractors were all designed and some were very specific. You know, this tractor it looked like a car because it was made by Henry Ford.
Yeah.
The Fordson. You know, just interesting to see how it develops to where your realm of technology allows it to fit a tool that can still be used for other practices.
Yeah, well, so there's a couple of reasons I didn't go down we'll call it bespoke or the custom or the new tractor. There's number one, I don't want to spend my NRE on doing something that's already been done. I can, Deere, Kubota, CNH, they make wonderful tractors. They're supported. You can go down and there's mechanics there. So that's just something that I didn't want to dedicate my time to. Someone's already done that. The second reason is you buy a tractor, you put an autonomy kit, and after 5-6 years you get rid of it. There's a secondary market. I think that's very valuable.
To be able to pull that technology off of that machine and then use it on your next machine purchase.
Well, or you can take that tractor and you can put it on machinery beat and
Yes, sir.
and
That's the struggle. These equipment yards are getting full of this big iron. And I like the machine that you had at our place. If I was to get done with it tomorrow, there'd be some acreage that would buy that tractor.
Absolutely.
Some guy with a couple horses would want that tractor.
Absolutely.
So I think it's visionary. I think you're.
Well, when I look at it this way, take the grower up in Montana, that is on 10,000 acres. He needs 3 systems. He could do his entire farm on 3 systems. And what's interesting about it is, like right now, if you go out and buy, let's say a 9RX 830, who's the second buyer of that? It's a very, very small market, right, of second buyers. However, if the farmer up in Montana, he's got 3 systems and he needs to get rid of one of them, right? The guy doing 1,000 acres can use that, and I think, the secondary market is going to be key.
You're right. The plug and play ability of those pieces, it might be a guy that one of his units is just getting wore out, and the guy that's been buying all new stuff, he can shift I just think it's so much more versatile than.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what they do is they, that we're at some locations, where they have dozens of units, and, every year, 2 or 3 of them, you can't, go out pasture, they sell them on the secondary market and bring in 2, 3 new ones.
So, like in one word, how do you describe autonomy in agriculture?
I hate to use a cliche, but it's revolutionary. But I don't think people are looking at it like, I tell the story and some of your listeners might have heard me say this many a time. Thomas Edison, at the light bulb, what else do you invent? Phonograph? Yeah. Okay. And people look at the phonograph, that's not what he invented. You know what he really invented, which was revolutionary? He invented the ability to play back music, or play back audio in particular. This podcast would have happened without his discovery on how to play back audio. You look at the record industry, you look at the bands, the genres, podcast, books on tape, AM, FM radio. That was his invention. It wasn't phonograph. You know how much money has been made off of record companies versus, the companies like Pioneer Audio selling record players or phonographs?
Was not the first thing that came to my mind.
I know.
I appreciated the clarification.
Yeah, it's not people forget there used to be a Pioneer Audio.
Well, we're in the ag world, so it's like,
Yeah. That was a poor example. What I'm trying to say.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, but you get my point, right? And people are looking at autonomy like, oh, the tractor drives itself. No. This is going to change how we farm. Like I said right now, I mean, to think, I have, a grandmother of 5 sitting in Ames looking all day long at 23 tractors across the U.S. Who would have thought?
So what do we need to make this go full scale? You mentioned the DOT is a battle. Talking policy, do we need to get some regulations changed, adjusted, or is it just adoption rate?
It's adoption rate.
It's culture.
Cultured adoption rate.
So there's nothing stopping it. There's no policy in the way of
No, there's
just.
what's interesting? I had mentioned to Elliott on our walk over to Camp Lunch. Yeah, you got to get your lunch.
Appreciate watching.
No. You know what the difference between Europe and the U.S. is?
I was gonna say narrower roads.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, that is.
But on a policy standpoint, yeah.
On a policy standpoint, in Europe, you can't do anything unless there's a law that allows you. In the U.S., you can do anything unless there's a law that forbids it. And that's why you see a lot of innovation occurring in the U.S. And I hope we never change that, by the way. I think it's adoption.
I like to make the analogy too. It's I believe it's culture. I think if Louis was here, him and I've had this banter back and forth before. It's the difference of the guys back at the turn of the century that said, "Well, I'll never hold a steering wheel. I'm gonna look at this horse's ass the rest of my life."
Absolutely.
And once that next generation comes in and says, "I'm not looking at the horse's ass anymore on this plow or planter. I'm getting a steering wheel." That's gonna be the change, and that's gonna be the change where,
So is there pushback?
people that are comfortable with this.
Is there pushback though, trying to channel Louis again, that this is gonna kill the family farm? You mentioned that this is a tool of scale and operation. Does this support big ag?
Well, I have my opinions on that.
Oh, that's all we're asking.
No, and I'll give them. I don't know what's going to happen 10 years from now. I really don't. I am not convinced that these corporate farms are going to succeed. And I've seen, and they will be unnamed, but I have seen people trying to scale agriculture, and it doesn't work. You walk on any farm, there's a farmer there who cares about the job, and he will work because he's personally invested. He will work all day long in order to succeed. Whereas the corporate farms, you got me for 8 hours.
With AI coming, don't you think that AI could fill that shortcoming?
I don't think so. I don't think it gets enough.
I mean, the care is what's getting it done today. But when you program something to care, it has no choice but to care. And if you set parameters for AI that it does those things that the carer used to do, it just gets done without anybody telling it to do it.
Give me an example of what an AI run farm would look like.
So, AI run farm, I could live in California. I've got an AI app that does all the decision making for me based off of what the weather's doing, my access to available machinery, what the climate's like, what the disease pressure's like, are the ditches getting too long that it needs to send out the autonomous mower to mow it? Does it need to spray fence rows? I think it could do all that with drone technology and a cabinet sitting in the corner of the field. I think it takes the role of the carer.
Somebody had to care, though, to write the algorithm or the learning method to identify that the fence row needs sprayed.
Well, that's kind of like writing a book, right? Once we invented the printing press, it became so much easier to pass along that information. So like if you start the printing press of that first person that wrote that, it just exists. And it continues to exist until it's either broken or burnt down.
Yeah. So and that's a long way away. That's more than 10 years.
Why do you think that?
Well, let me tell you, in terms of AI, what we're doing is we're a swarm company. We think the future is smaller systems, longer hours.
AI that exists today, though, isn't really the AI that they're really forecasting to come into existence in the next few years, right? Or do you think that we're going to reach a point where we just can't break through it.
I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm just thinking about where we are today. And okay, let's take your example of it's going to tell you what to do based on the weather.
I think it's going to just do it.
Well, okay, but let's just simplify that a little bit and say it's going to tell you what to do and what not to do based on the weather. It's suggestion, right? On the work up to that, are we even there? Are we even close? I mean, is there? Okay, let me ask you a question. So you're a farmer, right? Okay, who do you consult when you want to figure out when you should plant your corn? You just look at Google. You just look at your neighbor and says, "Oh God, he's out. I better get."
Who do I consult? It's taken years of experience and knowledge. So I'm looking at soil temperatures. I'm checking soil conditions. I'm looking at the forecast. Am I going to plan into a rain shower that's coming? Am I planning into a temperature increase? Is it going to get cold?
Look at weather, but your boots on the ground. You're looking at all this.
Yeah, the soil ribbon when I work it. All these things I think are things that are probably pretty easily programmable into some type of a sensor technology that will report back to a very intense algorithm that can make those decisions, and I'll have a choice. My choice, I think, will be what level of risk do I want to push things. Do I want to wait 100% till it meets these conditions, or do I want to take risk to 10% or 75%? That'll be what I'll do when my kids are sitting on the beach in California or Phoenix, Arizona, or wherever. That's my fear. I mean, it's really probably more of a concern for the industry than it is a desire to have it be here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I did not think we were going to go here today, but this is fun.
Yeah, but I think the problem though is how long is it going to take to get this implemented?
Elliott doesn't know how to do it.
We're talking 10 years, 20
I didn't know how to make iTunes either.
Are we talking? Yeah, but are we talking 20 years?
I don't know.
I
think 10.
10? How long did it take AutoSteer to get widely adopted?
Well, widely adopted versus exist is two different questions.
Yeah, but kind of 10 probably. I mean, I can remember my dad was probably one of the first adopters of it in the late 90s. I mean, we had one of the balls on the steering wheel. He was ag leader, and it was 10 years later but with tractors it was integrated.
But it took 12 years to adopt AutoSteer.
Sure. All right, so I hear what you're saying. I want to throw this out there.
Okay, but
we are going to see a 50% transition of land in the next 10 years. I think it happens really fast.
You may be. You may be right. You may. I mean that. What the biggest problem right now is? A lack of farmers. And talking with my brother. All right. How many people do you know under the age of 30 that are farming? You can only list like 5, right? 5 people. Cherokee County has
almost none of them doing it independently without family or some other type of situation.
Absolutely. Yeah, they're they won the ovarian lottery, right? Okay, there's 400,000 acres in Cherokee County. Divide that by 5. Each of these farmers better know how to farm 80,000 acres.
Yeah, I guess an early random numbers like that. That sounds like a near impossibility, but
it's still less than 23 units.
All right,
that your mother is managing at this time, right? Because if your 10,000 acre farmer can run 3 units and cover 10.
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking about autonomy. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be farmers. I don't think it's going to be 80,000 acre farmers. What it's going to be is it's going to be land estates, operating their own land. So if you're an heir of an 80 or 160 or 640, whatever you got, you eliminate the tenant farmer. You just now are your own operator.
So I think that's what's going to happen is landowners are going to be basically become farmers.
Dave and I were talking about this last time I seen Dave, and I mean it's going to be the Daves of the world with a farm management company, and they're going to get you subscribed to the Dave app, or Herd Farm Management or whoever, and that's going to be the new AI platform that XYZ ovarian lottery winner that is an heir to to a parcel of land, which now becomes an estate, and we're gonna go to old world Europe. Sorry, we went down this rabbit hole, but that's a lot. And you're in technology like autonomy is gonna enable that to happen.
It is fascinating to think about when you compare other nations and other agricultural complexes, the fact that we've got partners that had farmed, tens of thousands of acres in Ukraine and Russia. And that was made up of 20-acre parcels and 40-acre parcels. And just the amount of families that owned ground, like you said, but they didn't farm it. It's all put into a lottery of this one operator took the whole operation under their wings and ran 18 combines and had 6 seeders and had everything that was in this mix, still human operated, right?
Yeah.
But a fascinating way to potentially draw a comparison. And I hate to do this to you, Elliott, on your own show, but you ain't got a lot of time.
That's it. Yeah. So we better wrap this thing up.
I don't want to cut you off, Craig. I mean, I love the passion that you've had. Your history alone is fascinating. The pieces of agriculture that you've had influence on, that you've touched, helped design, and where this is headed is wild because we don't know.
I think it's the future. It's coming. If you're gonna,
Absolutely.
you need to. If you want to be in this space, you're gonna have to participate.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we talked a lot about policy. We talked a little bit about the California thing before we got in here, but that's kind of a non-issue. That's more of a labor issue with OSHA. But of a call to action, what needs to happen to make this success?
To make autonomy a success, what needs to happen? I think people are going to have to realize that they're going to be a little bit more cost conscious on their capital expenses. And I think farming is going to, it's unfortunate when I look at farming, farmers, there's this internal desire. They want to farm next year. They're farming, for some reason or another, it's in their blood, and this is what they do for a living, and they need to farm, and this is what they want to do. And I think you're going to see they're going to be more cost conscious. They're going to start looking at, their capital expenditures. They're looking at their seed. They're going to be looking at their fertilizer, and all their, and they're going to figure we're going to have to be a little bit more financially disciplined and start doing things differently to save on capital for the most part. And I think that's what's going to
We'll drive this.
Financial driven adoption is the fastest way.
yeah, it is.
Well, listeners, you got a real eye-opening show here.
That's funny, Louis.
Was it?
Yeah, I didn't do a good job because I didn't even think about immigration law. That's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I did see, just to add an anecdote here, at Carrie Underwood's 435-acre ranch, she was struggling to find people to do work because of immigration law. Because I think she can afford
A Sabanto track?
Yeah. Yeah. If they want to learn more about Sabanto, how do they do that?
You can go to our website, sabantoag.com, or hit us up on Twitter, Sabanto Ag, Facebook, same thing, and we're on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah, Carrie would be a good influencer to team up with.
Right. Yeah, we could. We have, like I said, Viper. Viper's one of our tractors. Yep. I'll send Viper over there.
Smell like Viper down there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Where's she at? Georgia?
I don't have a clue.
Well, we got hundreds of systems there.
I should have known.
Yeah.
Well, listeners, we appreciate tuning in, and we hope you rush right back to another episode of Rush Hour Ag.